Hi everyone, Jeffrey Shove here, yoga therapist, and welcome to my 10 minutes of yoga therapy. Today's practice is going to be all about the knees. Let's call it knee-hab, shall we? Just to put a little humor in there. So a couple things about this amazing joint. It was about 4.5 million years ago that we decided that we would no longer be quadrupeds, but we were going to be bipeds. So we transitioned from all fours to 2 legs. That's all well and good. You know, we stood taller, we probably moved faster, we could see further, it freed up our hands to use tools, all good stuff. However, the knee joint, unfortunately, has taken a little bit of the brunt of that whole evolutionary development. So what I see happening as we've become these tall people on 2 limbs is that we tend to not balance the strength of the leg. We tend to be stronger in the IT side and the outer part of the leg. We tend to be weaker on that adductor or inner side of the leg. So today's yoga practice is going to focus on trying to balance that side to side. The knee joint has about 14 connective tissues to stabilize and surround it. The knee is good, like really good at a couple things. It's really good at straightening the leg. It's really good at bending the leg. There's also a little bit of lateral motion there, but not very much. And I see runners and cyclists and yoga enthusiasts often, having a little bit of instability there, a little bit too much movement, and a little bit more potential for wear and tear on one side of that joint or the other. So we're going to try to balance that out in this 10 minutes of therapy session. What you're going to need today for this practice is your yoga mat, a yoga block, a foam one if you have it's going to be better, but no worries if you don't. Maybe a bolster toward the end of the practice for a little support for relaxation, and then a straight back chair as we work with a couple of standing postures, just as a reference point. So we're going to start on our backs, and you're going to want to have a yoga block within reach. We won't use it for the first pose, but we'll use it pretty quickly. Okay? So come on down onto your backs. Let your knees bend. And pick your feet up and bring your knees in toward your chest as you place your hands on your kneecaps. As you breathe in, keep your hands on your knees, but push them away. As you breathe out, bring the knees back in. So the knees aren't really changing position that much, but it's warming up the hips and the low back and the spine. So a nice little warm-up movement. Most of these postures and movements will do 6 or 8 reps. As a practice, I may not do that many here in the interest of time, but you get the idea. Good. Okay. So release your feet to the mat. Find your yoga block. Take it between your legs, not on the knee bones themselves, but slightly closer to the pelvis. So you're using soft tissue to connect with the block. You can take a breath in through your nose. And as you breathe out, I want you to just squeeze that block. Not as hard as you can, but imagine how hard you might squeeze it, and then back off by 2/3. So you're giving it about 30% effort. You're going to hold there. You're going to make sure you're breathing. So important. So feel your abdomen expand as you inhale. And feel it gently release as you exhale. And you can even engage a little core if you want to emphasize the exhale side of that. Keep that 30% squeeze on your block and keep breathing. On your own, when you're doing this practice, you could do 3 sets of this for about 30 seconds each. It'd be awesome. Okay? So that's the first move. You can set your block aside. And now bring your feet as wide as your mat. I'm going to turn the face away from you so you can see my alignment here. My feet are as wide as my mat is. My knees are as wide as my feet are. And I'm simply going to bridge up here and bring the arms overhead as I do, and just notice this whole opening for the front body line. It's a really slow, easy, gentle movement. Just enjoy this feeling of freedom, of elongation of the front body wall as you breathe. Beautiful, flowing, easy movement. Again, 6 or 8 reps is good for your home practice. We'll make our way onto our sides, on our way to our hands and knees for this classic pose called Chakravakasana. It's basically cow to child. You want to spread your fingers wide. As you inhale, arch your back, draw your shoulder blades together. As you exhale, fold back into child's pose, tucking your chin at the very end of that movement. Moving back and forth. So now we're getting a little bit more range of motion with the knees. Inflection and partial extension. Feels so good. Also great to continue that mobilization of the lower back, the pelvis, and the spine. From here, we'll walk the hands forward, making our way towards standing eventually, using downward facing dog as a transition pose. If your calves feel tight, walk your dog, or simply remain stationary, letting the stretch unfold. With your head heavy, walk your feet toward your hands toward your feet. Before you stand up, bend your knees a lot, and come on up. And you can find a yoga block when you make your way up. Just like before, take the block between your knees but above the knees. We're going to stand in mountain pose. We're going to do that same effort of 30%. Take a breath in through your nose. As you exhale, squeeze your block. Notice what happens to your posture when you squeeze the block. So let off that squeeze for a moment. Notice how that feels. And then the next time you exhale, squeeze it again. And can you tell which direction the block moves as your adductor muscles work? Okay, I'll give you a hint. Can you feel that block move slightly backward? And notice what it does to your alignment. Notice what it does to your engagement. Notice all 10 toes. Notice the bottoms of your feet. Notice your pelvis. Notice your spine. Notice your shoulders. It's just a great tool to use as a gauge for beautiful posture. Nice. And then if you want to take that further, you can come into tall mountain, bringing your arms overhead. Same idea, squeeze that block, lengthen your spine as you breathe. Feels so good. Wonderful. Gracefully release your arms, and you can release your block. Great. So go ahead and find your straight back chair. We're going to use this as a tool for Warrior 2. Now, I teach a lot of yoga classes, and I can tell you just about everyone I teach, I'm going to see a student whose knee rolls in Warrior 2. So we're going to work on that a little bit today, and we're going to use a chair just to kind of take the balance out of the equation a little bit and think more about alignment. So bring your feet comfortably apart like you would for Warrior 2 prep. Your front knee is mostly straight for now. Take a look to make sure that it's mostly tracking over the center of the top of your foot. Place your hands lightly on your chair seat. And remember with this Warrior 2 movement, when we start to bend the knee, we don't want to lean in toward that bent knee side, but we want to actually just create this vertical drop in the spine. Imagine an anchor attached to your tailbone, and it's heavy, and the only way you could really move is to just simply give in and let the weight of the block or the anchor take you down. Yeah. So notice what that feels like. Hopefully what you find here is your back leg is working just as much as your front. And if you get that just right and take a look at your knee, hopefully that alignment is still there where the knee is still centered over this middle of your foot, side to side. Just pause and notice. And of course you want to do this on both sides, and I can almost guarantee that you're going to struggle a little bit more with that alignment on one leg or the other, depending on which side is dominant or which side maybe has had some other life experience, right? Good. And just hold and feel and breathe. Perfect. Great. And you can push into the chair back and right yourself up, taking the chair away. One final little move here that I think is really helpful is also working with the knee placement in Warrior One. Now, a whole lot of times what I see people do is they get really tired in Warrior One. And then, again, you get that instability, that sort of lateral movement that we'd like to contain. So what you need is a yoga block. I don't know how well you're going to see this, so I'm going to show you forward before I turn. You're going to need some wall space. You'll take your block and you're going to place it right in the center of your kneecap, probably at that 6-inch width, so you have a comfortable distance away from the wall. And so it's going to be a stabilizing tool to keep you still while you're in the pose. So I'll turn away from you and show you. But basically you're just going to take the block, put it on the wall at knee height, and place the center of your knee right in the center of that block. Come into your posture and bring your arms overhead, and you can notice that you have this awesome now increased stability in this classic yoga pose. And your knee is going to be really happy because it's going to be stable, it's going to be strong, it's going to be protected. Beautiful. All right, from there, let's come back down to our backs. You might want to have your bolster handy if you have one. We're going to do one more move before we relax. So we'll start on our backs just like we did with our knees bent. And we're going to do a little hamstring stretch here, because think about all the hours that we spend with our knees bent, whether we're in a chair, an automobile seat, even in a fetal position, sideline when we're sleeping. So pick up your foot, interlace your fingers together, clasp your hands behind one thigh. As you breathe in, extend the knee. And as you breathe out, bend the knee. Breathe in and extend. Breathe out and bend. And keep going. Nice and slow, mindful movement. If you notice a little jiggling, a little trembling, it's perfectly fine. It's just the hamstring getting used to being a little longer. So we'll do 6 or 8 of these. And for the last one, we'll actually extend the leg and hold it for 3 or 4 breaths. Good. Use your exhalation to release. And of course, you'd repeat the same thing with the other leg. Just enjoying that freedom of motion, that variety of movement, that sense of health and well-being as we nurture this joint. And again, after 6 or 8 reps, you can hold the posture, giving that connective tissue time to lengthen. And when you're complete, if you're using a bolster today, take several minutes to relax. I think it's just nice to have that support right behind the knee. Bring the arms out slightly, palms up, and completely relax. Taking several minutes on your own for healing and well-being. All right, everybody, thanks for joining in today. That's it. Jeffrey Schoaf here, 10 Minutes of Yoga Therapy. Check it out on YouTube. Check it out on my website at jeffreyshoaf.com. That's JEFFREYSHOAF.com. We'll see you next time. Take care.